Awesome. Good morning, everybody. It's good to see you all joining us today for the New York Wine and Grape Foundation's export program overview. This is basically our international marketing program. So we're happy that so many of you are interested in learning a little bit more about it today. Again, glad to see so many folks here. Today, you're going to be meeting the minds behind the program momentarily, but just let me say, for all of us, we're super excited to see some new faces that have shown some interest in the export program this year, as well as folks who have been with us for many, many years, putting in the long hours and providing us with many samples and much of their time to make the export program a success. So we're super happy to have you all join us. We're planning on sharing a pretty high-level overview today about the New York Wine's export program, and we may share some information that you haven't known before or that you may have some questions about in the future. So while today we have about 30 or 40 minutes worth of, I think, content to share with you, we're absolutely happy for you to reach out to us individually with any questions after today's session. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get it started by taking a look at the agenda. As mentioned, today we're going to be going over some of the high-level basics of the New York Wine's export program and introducing you to our program team. We're going to be reviewing our program timelines, our program goals, and the types of activities that the New York Wine and Grape Foundation will be supporting you with during the year in each of our target international markets. We're also going to be talking about some other items that are essentially your responsibilities. So the cost to join, the time that it takes to review your samples and their fit with the market, submitting wines to our bottle books platform system, which is essentially a database system, and by providing us with quarterly and annual reports so that we can provide information to our funder on a timely basis. Those are kind of all going to be considered in the cost of doing business with the export program. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that, as well as how to sign up. So in terms of the folks who are your support team, should you choose to join the export program, and again, this is essentially our international marketing program designed to raise brand awareness and make sure that there's product availability in target markets in international markets. We're going to spend a little bit of time getting to know the people who are actually doing that work for you. And as you see kind of on the screen, there are quite a few people behind the program. And this is really important because our investment in this team is a direct reflection of how seriously and how important this program is to the mission of the New York Wine and Grape Foundation and all of our industry members. And so we are excited to have all of these folks on our team. For those of you who I may not have had the pleasure to meet before, there are some new names with us today. My name is Val Venezia Ross. I've been managing the export program at a high level for the past 5 years now. Time is flying when you're having fun. My role is helping to convene all of the partners in this program, provide direction to consultants and the in-market reps to help structure initial budget parameters and work with all the partners on activity plans, manage those activity plans, and working with Kim Hughes, who's on the New York Wine and Grape Foundation staff. She's our finance manager. Submit timely budget reports and grant applications to the USDA in hopes that we continue to receive this allocation every year, and hopefully we are able to increase it as we have been recently in the past couple of years. And next, finally, we're going to introduce Tamara Thorberg from Bryant Christie, who I think many of you see on the line here. They are our main strategic partners, and Bryant Christie International has been around since, I believe, 1992, so for a while now, and they've been helping companies like the New York Wine and Grape Foundation, the California Wine Institute, and the Northwest Wine Coalition expand, evaluate, and strengthen their market development programs abroad. Tamara, and I believe Nigel Quinn is also on the line, and he works with Tamara to lead the export program on a day-to-day basis, managing the key relationships with all of our market reps. They execute our market plans, they make sure those are done in a compliant and effective manner, and they help us to gather data so that we can, again, make sure to get those reports in and continue this grant. And I don't know, Tamara, if you wanted to say anything else about Bryant Christie here.
Yeah, Yeah, thank you so much for the kind introduction, Val, and hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you all for joining today to learn more about the export program. So yeah, we've been working with Val and the entire team at the foundation since 2020 to help manage and execute the program. And I'll just say it's been an exciting partnership and a fun journey to promote New York wines all over the world. We've overcome many COVID hurdles over the past 3 years, and we even increased our overall grant funding by nearly 40%. So yeah, we come in with a lot of expertise, understanding the grant programs, rules, and regulations, which I'm sure you can imagine is tightly monitored. So we just make sure all the funds are used appropriately and documented correctly, so that we can get maintain or increase our funding like we have the past 3 years. So yeah, I'm looking forward to providing more details a few slides down. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, and so between Tamara and Nigel and the staff at the New York Wine and Grape Foundation, we're kind of the major oversight for working with the marketing firms in each of our 4 respective target markets. The Think Drink Global team, and you see a little bit of information on the screen here about them, are basically overseeing all of our marketing activities in Western Europe. And they were brought onto our team in 2020, which was a really interesting time, I would say, to bring on a marketing partner, trying to introduce a new wine region into a pretty well-established wine-loving culture in Western Europe. But Think Drink Global has done a fantastic job for us. They're a unique partnership between 3 well-established food and drink PR specialists, which is R&R Teamwork based in London, Vin Connexion based in Paris, and O'Donnell Lane based in Sonoma, California. And so they're able to provide us with the resources and personnel that we need to execute our plans, come up with creative and innovative events, and essentially connect us to the right relationships, whether they be importers or other types of buyers or other folks in the media who will raise the brand visibility of New York wines in that market. So we have 3 different points of contact at Think Drink Global, and you can see those folks on the screen in front of you. Eleanor Standen in London, Michelle Perrone in London, and Katie Canfield in Sonoma. Each of these team leaders has a different area of expertise, and if you join the export program, you'll likely be working with all of them, but they already have wide-ranging relationships in the market and essentially have helped our wineries exponentially. Those that are exporting to the UK, Sweden, Denmark, and Norway have all benefited from their expertise. So we're happy to have them on the team. Next, a little bit more about our other partners. In May of 2022, we were able to bring AMCC, a consultant based in Canada, to our team. It's led by Andrea Backstrom and Melissa Stundin. And again, there are market reps in Canada, and they basically help us to identify the right partners and buyers for New York wines in those markets. They've helped us establish a network of agents in the Canada market, as well as brand ambassadors and influencers who talk about the brand of New York wines to consumers. They essentially focus on Ontario and Quebec, and recently they've been extremely successful in maintaining the relationships that we've built with the monopoly, the Liquor Control Board in Ontario, and making sure that we have continued releases of New York wines through the Liquor Control Board, as well as building our relationship with the SAQ, which is the monopoly in Quebec. And so we're going to talk more about Canada in just a minute. And our longer standing partner here is FLX International, and we've been working with FLX International since I think 2019. And again, they are an export management agency and PR agency that connects New York wines to the right importers and consumers in the Asia Pacific markets. I think folks on the line may know Matthew McFetridge. He's a native of the Finger Lakes of Penn Yan, New York, but he's been living mostly in Asia full-time for the past many years, I think over 5 years. I know he's been back and forth lately, but he's been really adept at helping us navigate what is a pretty complex export market and ever-changing for sure. So we're pleased to have him on the team. And luckily, we're also able to work with Matthew and FLX International for consolidated shipments, because logistics is a big part of the export program. And the FLX International company has their shipping hub based in Penn Yan, New York, which is also where the New York Wine and Grape Foundation offices are located, and they act as our major logistics partner for all our events, our large trade shows, as well as getting our consolidated sample shipments to our target markets. So we're really excited to work with the FLX International team. They've been fantastic. And then finally, the foundation was able to welcome the Asahi agency, our partners in Japan. Very unique market, and we've had some success there over the years, but now we're kind of reinvigorating our brand presence in that area. We began working with Asahi in 2021, and similar to our other partners, Asahi had to go through a pretty rigorous RFP process, but they had really deep connections in the Japanese market. And that was really coupled with a unique wine experience, kind of deep bench strength from those on their team that made them a really perfect fit for New York wines. So they've been working to reestablish our brand presence in the market there in Japan after many years. They're reconnecting with current importers of New York wines, as well as establishing relationships with new importers. Pretty soon, I think we're going to talk about this year, they're going to be launching events gauged at wine enthusiasts, so consumers. So now we're going to talk about a little bit more of the structure of the program, just so you know kind of what's behind all of this and what the strategy is, and we're going to get to that. But every year for the past 31 years, the New York Wine and Grape Foundation has applied for and received a grant from the USDA's Market Access Program, designed to bolster the ability of New York wines to expand their sales in international markets and to do marketing on behalf of our state to just expand the awareness about our brand and about the availability of New York products abroad. As a requirement of the grant, I just wanted to say that the New York Wine and Grape Foundation also has to contribute 50% of our award to increase the overall amount that we have invested into this type of activity. So we do have some additional kind of time investment and some product investment and certainly volunteer time that goes into that. Our program calendar year runs from July 1st through June 30th. And though we encourage wineries to join at the beginning of our program year to just kind of make the most of the schedule, we do let folks join at any time during the year, but we really hope that you join now if you can make that decision so that you can get your samples into the consolidated shipment and choose the events and activities you want to participate in. I would say each year we remain fairly steady. There are about 30 or so wineries that really consider export as a major part of their business model. So every year we have a few that come in and out, but if you're interested in this and you're kind of sitting here with us today, we are really excited and we want to, make sure that you have all the information that you need to determine whether or not you want to continue with this path. So all of our export program participants are invited to take part in an annual advisory committee meeting so you can sit and discuss with those that have been in the program for a while how they feel the program is doing. Are our activities really moving the needle on awareness or sales in a certain market? You can recommend changes to us about different markets you might want us to explore. In fact, last year our marketing activities ceased in mainland China, and this year we may be exploring some opportunities to test the waters figuratively in the Caribbean based on our advisory committee meeting in March. So we're excited about that. We are considering adding another advisory committee meeting in the fall to give us more time to kind of assess what you're thinking about our activities during the program year, to make some tweaks and then plan well in advance of next year. So this is a program that likes to engage with our participants. In addition to the advisory committee meeting, like I said, I'll be reaching out to you quarterly about reports, and you will have, when you sign up, you'll be giving us lots of information about your sales. And at the end of the year, you'll be giving us lots of information about your sales and media hits. All right. Some more about program structure, and then we'll get to the fun stuff. All wineries are absolutely welcome to partake in this program, regardless of your membership status with us. We are a membership organization, but for this program, there is absolutely no price differential for our members versus non-members. And that's really kind of it. The next is the fun part. The foundation actually provides a wide range of activities. In addition to this great team that you just kind of learned about, we provide one-on-one guidance with our market reps, and we provide market research and send that out through a monthly newsletter that keeps you updated. And Nigel puts that together, and all of our activities are nicely summed up with beautiful pictures of what's going on around the world to promote New York wines. On top of all of that, there are marketing campaigns that are designed for each market to fit the needs of the key buyers and the media in that market. And we always keep the needs of our wineries in mind. We know that this is a premium brand. You may have limited quantities of certain things, and we work to find the right buyers who understand the nature of our wine regions. In-person and virtual events where your winery owner or your winemakers are able to join us, whether that's here in New York or traveling abroad, is kind of really where you shine. We've seen those events be extremely successful, and we're going to talk a little bit more about travel in just a second. All right, so travel's been on kind of the top of everybody's mind lately, only because we've just gotten back to it post-COVID, right? And so I would say since probably February of 2023, maybe a little bit before that, we've been traveling pretty consistently. And this year's travel opportunities will likely be presented to everyone. And what we'll do is provide you with those opportunities along with a list of qualifications that you must have to go on a trip that is funded by the New York Wine and Grape Foundation's export program. So for instance, many times, depending on the nature of the activity, you might need to have speaking experience or have a history of presenting about New York wines or our regions or histories or key varietals in the past. Depending on the nature of the event, we may ask that you don't have representation in a market, right? Because the event might be just for new wineries entering the market, or it may be specifically for wineries with importers or agents in a market. So those things always come up. We sometimes, because travel is complex, or we may have multiple legs of a trip, we might ask you to have experience with international travel or the ability to speak a certain foreign language. So there may be other factors, but likely those opportunities will come out to you with a list of qualifications, and the folks that fit those qualifications, whoever responds kind of first come, first serve, we will provide funded opportunities. And then once those are kind of gone, there will be opportunities for travelers who want to kind of foot the bill themselves and go to a foreign market and work the market themselves, but also partake in the activities that we sponsor as well. So there's always opportunities to engage abroad if you would like to travel. Now for a little bit of the harder part, it's just really your responsibilities. I think a lot of people see the export program, and it is fairly affordable to sign up. It's definitely kind of not onerous in terms of fees, but we definitely encourage you to think through the cost, the true cost of doing business. So things like, just the sample cost of shipping those samples to our consolidation point in the Finger Lakes or driving them to that point, the time to gather your tech sheets or your images, if you're speaking for us, your bios or your headshots, figuring out how to create a correct price list for each market is also very important. And time on the road, traveling for our events, that all is part of the cost of doing business. And we also require those mandatory reports that I mentioned when sales are made or if you get a media hit. So we want to share your success stories with the USDA, and I will be reaching out to you when you join every single quarter so you can provide those to us. And because I don't have practical experience with this, I didn't know if Colleen Hardy, who is the owner of Living Roots, is on the line. We asked her to join us because she has actual practical experience with most of these activities, has been in the program for a couple of years, and has recently just got back from a whirlwind trip for us to Asia. So I wanted to invite her to share some of her feedback on why she was in the export program and how it's been so far.
Thanks, Val. I'm happy to share. I've had a great experience in the export program so far. Definitely intend to continue to participate. And I think, we're a fairly new and fairly young winery in the grand scheme of things. But I think this program to me felt really worthwhile as we are building our brand. We're growing production each year. And while we don't have, a huge production at the moment, trying to lay the groundwork now so that we can continue to grow in the future and enter new markets that make sense for us sort of bit by bit. And so we've participated in a lot of different activities, whether it be virtual tastings, just sending samples to events that we are not ourselves directly participating in, but have our wines at. But then certainly some of the more exciting opportunities have been the trade missions where buyers are brought to us in the Finger Lakes, or this year, as Val mentioned, I got to go overseas representing New York Wine. And I think those activities have made it worth every penny and, every bit of entering things into bottle books and whatnot. I think a lot of the value we also get is just that research and expertise that the partners have. Export to me can be a bit overwhelming, especially considering we're a small team. We do a lot of things ourselves, and I don't have, the time and the resources to be digging into different importers importers in the different markets, what their portfolios are, what might be the best fit, who the contact is there, and kind of working through all the nuances of the market. Whereas the partners that the New York Wine Grape Foundation has engaged in these different areas, they really do all of that legwork for us. And so, I think the people that we've been able to connect with without having to do a lot of the research ourselves has been incredibly valuable. One success story for us that we've had so far was on the trade mission in the fall, where some Japanese buyers were brought to the Finger Lakes and they came to visit us in Rochester. We had a great tasting, could tell they were really enthusiastic about the region and the wines. But they were also really proactive afterwards in reaching out, asking about our pricing, our availability of stock. That you could tell they were visiting the region, not just to learn, but actually to buy and to find brands to partner with. So I think the quality of people that are also being engaged by these partners in the market are really high level. And with that particular importer that reached out afterwards and showed interest, we will be exporting some wine to them this year, which is really exciting. And it's not a small amount of wine either. It will be our biggest order to date, domestic or international. So I think, that just speaks to the program and an opportunity that we would not have found on our own. So that's something that we've definitely found worthwhile. And I'm excited to see, where else we can get our wines.
That's really great news. Thanks for sharing your story. That one of my questions was, and now I have two, but so when you joined the export program, was it because you wanted to primarily increase sales, or was it okay, I'm looking for a placement in a certain market because that assists with branding or recognition or kind of an endorsement of the quality of my wine?
It's a little bit of both because, as I mentioned, we don't have a ton, we do have a bit of inventory that I would, of course, love to move and sell. So it is about the sales to a degree, right. But we're also in a brand building phase because we are newer. And I think for us to get our wines into some key markets, we don't need to be everywhere, nor do we have the production to support, a huge number of markets. But I think for us, seeing some key markets that's really makes sense for New York wines and for our Australian wines. Obviously, we're a little bit different in that regard. But it was really both the sales and the brand building, getting a bit of credibility and recognition in the greater kind of wine world. Those were draws for us to the program.
Yeah.
And at a really reasonable price. I mean, to me, I felt like it wasn't a huge risk. Even if, the sales themselves don't flow through, we're getting our wines in front of a lot of people we wouldn't otherwise. And because we are relatively unknown, that's valuable to us.
Awesome. And for folks who are considering this and they're thinking about kind of their portfolio or what wines might work in what markets, did our market reps help you decide what was right to kind of showcase, or how was that decision made? And if people are confused about it, does this program seem to help folks with that decision?
Yeah, I mean, I think a little bit of it is on the winery to ask the questions. I mean,
Right.
Certainly there's some general information shared in sort of the market research and, the webinars that have been sort of deep diving on the different areas. But I think it's also a little bit on the winery to ask questions because, of course, every winery's portfolio is different. But I have found that, the partners in each market have been very open to consulting with us on, if I'm trying to decide between a few different wines and we need to narrow it down to 2 samples to send, they're definitely open to giving that feedback of, okay, well, these types of styles tend to go well in this market. Again, with the Japanese group in particular, we have some lower alcohol wines that they were particularly interested in when they came to visit. And so then as opportunities came up to go travel there, I made sure that those wines were being included. So it is good to get that local insight, because otherwise, we're going to pick the wines that we have either more volume of or that we think represent the range the best, but not every market is the same. So
excellent point. I have still more questions for Colleen, but I didn't know, maybe I should save that capstone question to the end, unless you have anything more to provide now. Tamara, is the next slide yours or mine?
Yeah, I'll take over, but I just want
Great.
to say I'm very energized and excited to hear from Colleen. That's obviously one of our ultimate goals, is to help wineries to get these great orders and to get a business overseas. So really excited it worked out from our efforts over the last couple of years.
Thank you for all of the hard work you do. It's very appreciated.
Thanks, Colleen. So now we want to provide an overview of our current strategy going into program year 2023, which begins in just 2 days. When it comes to in-market events, we found a lot of value in crafting dedicated New York wine seminars and tastings, whether those are in person or virtual. We found that this has allowed New York to be the star of the show, which has been effective for brand building, really building up the prestige of New York wines, and developing strong sales leads for export program members. However, earlier this year, we joined our first major trade show since COVID at Vinexpo Paris, and we were pleasantly surprised to find a lot of energy, knowledge, and momentum for New York wines, thanks to the work from our smaller dedicated events in Europe. So we want to continue a large-scale trade show in our plans each year to take advantage of the exposure and leads they can create when that good groundwork is laid. We also found a lot of value in hosting virtual tasting activities during COVID. It's a cost-effective way for wineries to engage with trade, media, and consumers in other markets when traveling overseas is not an option. We want to continue providing opportunities for that in this program year and have plans for that. We'll overview shortly in each market. Many of these events will be using the refreshed New York Wine Reference Guide as the key educational tool, and hopefully wineries joining where possible to share stories and unique insights. We're very excited this year to be organizing a global inbound tour to New York, featuring trade and media from all 4 of our target markets. We've just set the dates for that. It'll be November 1st through 6th, and we'll have stops in the Finger Lakes and Long Island. So more details to come over the next couple of months for those who join the export program, but it's going to be a fantastic opportunity to bring key players from around the world to New York. And what Colleen mentioned, how we can bring these key buyers who are really interested in New York and doing business. That's the goal with this tour as well. And then just a couple other things I want to point out from this list. We will be organizing target market overviews in August, led by our in-market agencies. And we highly recommend joining these live to ask questions and get the latest information on the market. And then as an export program member, Val kind of covered this already, you're welcome to reach out to our in-market reps directly to schedule a consultation and get some customized advice on pricing and talking about your wines and what kind of makes you a unique selling point in a particular market. So yeah, we highly recommend taking advantage of that once you join the program. And then Val, do you want to quickly overview our global messaging and sustainability work?
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry about this little line here, but yeah, absolutely. It really applies to everybody in our kind of New York wines community and New York wine grape industry. But in August and September, the foundation is super excited to be launching our new marketing toolkits for our global messaging project, as well as our new sustainability, sustainable wine growing program. These are all going to be used in international activities. These kits will include posters, social media posting, and messaging, both updated to talk about our whole state, and also our marketing partner did a lot of focus groups and outreach to craft messages that really pertain to each AVA and region, so that we can be unique, but we can be together and we can be consistent about it. Very similar with the sustainability program, a lot of focus groups, a lot of research, what the sustainable wine growing program means to people and how it is based in really sound science, and it kind of elevates New York wines to a whole different level in people's minds. So those two together will be launched over the kind of late August, probably early September timeline. We will be doing trainings for all of our winery partners and certainly our export wineries on how to use the assets in those toolkits. And we'll be also, I believe, we'll be also translating those into different languages for use in target markets. And I think tomorrow you mentioned as well that we're going to be translating a shortened version of our New York Wine Reference Guide. It's actually currently happening into Japanese, French, and Vietnamese. So based in sound quality education that's up to date, as well as consistent messaging and kind of very high quality look and feel for the, the brand of New York is what we're trying to do on a consistent basis. So those toolkits should be very helpful in the export program, and we're looking forward to everybody seeing them soon.
Great. Yeah, if you could go to the next slide. So yeah, now we will provide a little bit of information about the strategy and plans for each target market, starting with Western Europe. This is our largest target market from a budget perspective, and it covers work in 10 European countries. You can see that list there below. We have a great in-market team. Val already covered this, that they have a vast network of wine industry contacts, and they really specialize in creating tailored events and generating great high-value press. Next slide, please. So the signature event we have planned for this program year is returning to the Vinexpo Paris trade show in 2024. As usual, we plan to create a travel team of winemakers that go to the trade show and man the booth. And hopefully we will be featuring wine from most of our export program members. And then we want to take advantage of having this team in the market and organize pre-trips to Manchester, United Kingdom, and to Finland. It's been a while since we've had an in-market event in the UK, and it's going to be a first for Finland after visiting some other Nordic markets earlier this year. So we're excited to build upon or start building this travel opportunity and provide more details how you can participate. And then, yeah, we'll be organizing a webinar series called New York Wines Meet the Makers. And that's really going to be focused on connecting unrepresented wineries with UK and European buyers. And for those who are already represented in the UK, we're going to be organizing some virtual tastings in partnership with importers. In terms of inbound trips, we actually have a UK buyer already confirmed for that November global tour I referenced earlier. And we're also going to be hosting a Scandinavia media tour to Long Island later this year. And finally, we have some New York Wines dinner events being planned in the UK and Belgium, which will be targeting wine influencers, media, and bloggers. And we do actually have a Europe microsite where we list all the wineries that join up for the Europe program and who they're represented with or where they're trying to secure representation, and that's updated regularly by our team. Okay, next slide, please. Great. So yeah, turning now towards Canada, we have kind of a two-pronged strategy in this market. The first is continuing to grow the Ontario market, primarily by strengthening our relationship with the Liquor Board, the LCBO as we call it, and continuing to secure releases of New York wine. And also, we just wrapped up our first program year of marketing activity in the Quebec market. So we will continue to build upon our relationship with their liquor board, the SAQ, and helping wineries connect with agents there. Next slide, please. So yeah, this program year, we will again be organizing a New York Wines Roadshow in Toronto and Montreal and inviting all Canada Export Program wineries to attend in person. It will be self-funded, but given it's our closest target market by far, we hope to have a strong attendance again. And we found that organizing a masterclass followed by a walk around tasting worked really well, and it helped to generate new business for some of our wineries who participated. Then there will also be a trade masterclass in Quebec City later this year, sometime in Q4. We plan to have 4 trader media from Canada join that November global tour. And separately, we're going to have buyers from both the LCBU and SAQ come to New York in April next year to visit and experience our wine regions firsthand. And we do have New York wines already available in the market, so we want to make sure we're promoting those to consumers by partnering with well-known wine clubs and experts on some campaigns. And we want to ensure that product consultants at the LCBO stores are aware of New York and the wines available via some consultant trainings. And now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Nigel to cover Asia Pacific and Japan.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nigel. I'll be briefly covering what we're doing in the Asia Pacific region. So our Asia Pacific region has 3 major markets: Hong Kong, Korea, and Vietnam. Hong Kong is a little unique in this situation as we've been there for a long time, but due to the COVID regulations that were put in around 2020, we haven't had a lot of opportunity to return to the market until about December of last year when those were lifted. So we're really trying to get back into the market, capture that energy that was there for New York wines before. And we have had a very successful partnership with Sam's Philosophy there, which is led by the sommelier Reese Choi, who recently placed 3rd place in the world's best sommelier competition. So having a great brand ambassador like that to connect us with trade and media in that market is something that we hope to develop and build even more relationships like that. South Korea and Vietnam are in a different position. Both are wine has become a much bigger category across both of those markets recently. South Korea has definitely been kind of a hot topic in the wine world, and in order to capitalize on that, we want to help build those relationships and help New York wines get established in those markets. Vietnam is probably even slightly less developed than South Korea, with a very young population with a high disposable income and lots of interest in wine. And because it's such a new market for the wine world, we really have an opportunity to establish New York as a premier cool climate New World wine region. So we're in order to do that, if we could go to the next slide, please. We're going to have a New York reference guide wine course in Vietnam. You heard Val mention that the reference guide is being currently translated into Vietnamese, and our team there will lead a course that will go over it and kind of help establish the different AVAs across the state for trade and media there to really help us to establish New York's reputation. The inbound trip that has been mentioned a couple of times, they're going to bring about 4 to 5 South Korean trade and importers, and 3 trade importers and distributors from Hong Kong as well. We know that those outbound trade missions are very successful in helping to get wines in front of the importers, but it will be more accessible to more New York wineries by bringing folks here. So we really hope to have those representatives in the market. For the virtual tastings, we're looking for wine submissions for both one in Hong Kong and one in South Korea throughout the other year. And we hope that you'll provide wine for that. For the James Suckling review, our Asia team is going to be taking the lead on collecting samples for that and getting those over to their offices in Hong Kong. There'll be more information on this in the future. Just so you know, if you do get a review, you will have to pay separately to the James Suckling organization in order to use their reviews and marketing, but we're going to help to get whatever wines you want to them so that they can be reviewed. We can go to the next slide, please. As mentioned, we have recently been reinvigorated with our efforts in Japan. We really want to, we've focused on education as well as promoting and getting new new distribution established in the market. And in order to do that, we can go to the next slide, please. We have a suite of activities, including 3 different tasting events These will all be ones that you can submit wine samples for. The first one is a more traditional walk around tasting for around 40 trade and media. The second one is going to be a highly specific and very in-depth masterclass seminar led by one of our representatives, Takanori Beppu, who is going to go through and really go through all of the regions. So please, if you're interested in participating in either of these, please send wines in. For the inbound trip that's happening in November, we're also going to be sending 2 media, and Mr. Beppu will also be joining that one as well. He's really become kind of the face and primary brand ambassador for New York. So having him continually visit the region has been very helpful for him, because he's been able to speak with a lot of great lived experience of the wines that are produced in New York. So we really want to continue to have him build his familiarity with the region. And then finally, something that we found in Japan is that we want to demonstrate that we're very committed to the market in the long term. So in the next year, we're also, the New York Wine Grape Foundation will also be joining the Japan Sommelier Association, which will get us access to more exclusive events, as well as their very impressive list of members. And we hope that by doing so, we will establish ourselves as very committed to the Japanese market. I'll now pass it back to Val, who will talk about bottle books. Or tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll handle this one. So yeah, for those who are new to the export program, we wanted to share that we use the online platform Bottle Books to store information about your winery and your wines, and to organize all of our events and shipments. So it's a critical tool and resource for all members of the export program team, including all of our in-market reps that have access to all that information. And when a potential buyer or a media reaches out, they're able to pull information from Bottle Books quickly. And so we found it to just be a great resource for that kind of stuff. So once you officially sign up for the export program as a new member, you will receive a Bottle Books registration link on July 1st. And we encourage you to fill out your profile in the month of July. The sooner the better, honestly, but we know that it takes time to upload information. And we do recommend uploading information on at least 4 to 5 wines, wines that you want to prioritize for export and will likely send as samples for some of our events. What's great about Bottle Books is that once you add the information to the platform, so once you put in that effort, it's saved there permanently, and you do not have to re-upload that same information again. And then it becomes easier and easier to select wines when registering for our shipments and events. Next slide, please. So yeah, kind of wrapping up. So what's next? Well, first of all, if you haven't signed up already for the export program, we encourage you to do so as the program gets underway in July. That way you will start receiving our newsletter, which includes our activity calendar, and you can start filling out your Bottle Books profile and getting ready to participate when we have call outs for different activities and shipments. And yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be arranging those market overviews in August. So we'll be sending out, I think, calendar invites. Val will probably handle that for those to signed up members. And we also plan to arrange a Bottle Books training for new wineries, just to learn how to best maximize the platform. And as Val already discussed, providing success stories and annual sales reporting is a requirement of this program. So we appreciate the staff time it takes to put together this information, along with registering and shipping samples for our activities. So if you have any questions or concerns, you can certainly reach out to Val, Nigel, and myself. So yeah, we hope you consider joining the program. We're extremely excited to partner with you to promote your winery and wines overseas. Val, I'm wondering if you have any kind of closing thoughts before we open it up.
Yeah, just a few things by way of just housekeeping. We're going to send out this deck so that everybody has this link in the recording if they want to listen to it again. And then just 2 things. And then I wanted to ask Colleen one final question and ask her to kind of wrap up for us. I don't know if it came through in this session, but the export program, while it certainly helps your winery individually, it is a program that kind of I think rises the tide and, kind of floats all boats for the New York wine industry. So we're able to use the export program funding to do things like update the New York Wine Course and Reference Guide and make sure it gets out to very important trade and media worldwide. So being a part of this, it very well may sell your wine, and we hope that it does, but very well may get you coverage in media and placements in that certain kind of restaurant or with that distributor who is very well respected and well regarded. So those are things that then we can then take back to the USDA or share with our other funders to say, look at what New York is doing, and just continues to build the momentum of New York wine. So all of you are doing that. We couldn't thank you enough. But this program is kind of touches all of the parts of our organization, and we are extremely grateful for everybody who partakes in it, because we know that it is time intensive. And so hopefully you will be able to look at those links from the success stories and the annual sales reporting and really look at them and say, am I going to be able to capture those data and get that back to the foundation in a timely manner? And is that something that I really want to do? And we hope that it is. Number two is just, if you get really invested in export and you think, this is going to be a big part of our business model, there will be other resources outside of our generic New York Wines program. You can work with Global New York for additional funds. They often do trade missions as well. And you can work with Food Export Northeast. And we have more information in all of every single month. Our newsletters have more information about those resources. If you want to go out and do just marketing or travel or branding for your own label. And so I guess, Colleen, I'll turn it over to you. I don't know if you've done any of those things on your own, but I know that you do have, wine in Australia, so you can speak to that. But any more resources that you think would be helpful to share with people? Or you and I talked about this, like anything you would tell yourself at the beginning when you first started that you'd like to know or share with other people when they're starting?
So there's not really other resources that I can think of off the top of my head, but I think, as I mentioned, I think the program does a lot of the legwork up front, but then I kind of feel like to an extent, you get out of it what you put into it. So I think, as I have gotten more involved in it and a little bit more proactive with the sales side of our business, I think the opportunities kind of start opening up once you are more invested yourself. So I've found, obviously in bottle books, it makes it very easy to see all of the opportunities that are available that you can enter samples for. But I think, again, just engaging with the sort of market experts that the foundation has kind of brought on for this program, I think even, there's a lot more I could do with engaging them and getting a little bit more of their expertise and how that applies to our business and how we could grow our export business. But I think, kind of looking back and what I've been learning over the last couple of years is that the opportunities are there, and you can kind of just go with those, sending samples, and keep it really not that time consuming. Once the wines are in bottle books, it's pretty easy. But you can also take it further than that, depending on kind of how much export activity you want and how much time you have to dedicate to it.
Yeah, Colleen, I was just wondering how you found working with bottle books. Has it been fairly easy and intuitive?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, to begin with, I didn't sort of load everything in to begin with.
Right.
And so every time an opportunity came up when I first joined, I feel like I was scrambling a little bit. Like the opportunity would come up. I am admittedly not the most organized person, and I tend to leave things close to the deadline. So I would all of a sudden be like, I got to enter in all the info for this wine and get it in there. But once we had the wines, loaded for the most part, now it's very easy for me. When an opportunity comes up, it's kind of like, tick, 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 these are the wines I want to include. And it's very seamless. So I think there's like a little bit of a learning curve up front and just kind of preloading your information. But once I got used to it and had everything in there, it's been really easy to work with.
Okay, yeah, that's good to hear. And I think, what you kind of alluded to earlier, like what you put in, you get out of it. So I think the more information you put in on the front end, it just makes it easier, from my understanding, over
Yes,
time.
that's what I found.
Cool.
There is one question that came through, and I don't know if Tamara and Nigel and I really have the completely fleshed out answer, but Amay, I wanted to just respond to your question about joining the travel team.
Oh.
In my mind, it would work exactly kind of like what I said in the beginning, where we would actually send out an email to everyone in the export program saying, we have, an upcoming trip to Vinexpo Paris. We're looking for 5 travelers. They'll be fully funded by the foundation's program, but you need to show us that you've had, experience training people on New York wines or your region, because it is a generic program, so you can't just speak about your own wines. We may ask for people from different regions, right? So somebody from Long Island, we need to have a couple people from Long Island and a couple people from the Finger Lakes, because that's primarily where our export participants are from. So we'll put a list of qualifications out, and then you will fill out the form and say, yes, I meet all these qualifications, send it in. And once we verify that, we're trying to do this as fairly and as transparently as possible. It would just be then kind of first come, first serve for those who meet those qualifications or kind of regional specifications. Tamara, does that make sense to you? And Nigel, certainly?
Yeah, that sounds about right, Val. So obviously we have not put that together yet for our opportunities, because we're just turning to the new program year, but our goal is to send that out well in advance. And so really we'll think it through on our end. But yeah, you should have plenty of time to review and apply with an appropriate deadline, and we'll provide information on next steps. So look out for our newsletters and emails as the program year continues.
Awesome. And thanks for that question. And I know that our executive director, Sam Filler's on the line, and we may, I don't know if he's sending these to everybody, but we have a ton of other resources that if you want to, again, go down this road just for your wine brand, we have a number of other grant opportunities or funding opportunities that can support your endeavor. And we will link some of those. We've done recorded webinars with some of those folks, whether it was Works Design did a webinar on the manufacturing assistance program for NYSEG, and we had a webinar about different resources from your county IDAs. We will send that out, as well as some information about what Farm Credit East can do in terms of consulting assistance. So yeah, that'll all be linked in the email afterwards. Sam, those are great resources. Thank you for sharing them. I don't think they went through to everybody. So perfect. We will we'll wrap it up here. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a bunch of people on the line. So Colleen, thanks for your insight. It was tremendous. And we appreciate your time. I know you've given us a lot in the past, but hopefully it looks like it's all working out.
Yes, definitely. It's been worth it for sure.
Awesome.
So thank you.
Thank you. Tamara, Nigel, any more questions that you see or that you feel like we wanted to answer? Just gonna, one more question. Yeah, that's a good question. For those that have been in the program for a while, you'll notice that Japan is now a separate market from Korea and Vietnam. So there are 4 target markets now instead of 3, and it is an extra $75. So the first market is $150, and then every additional market that you add is another $75 fee for a total of, I guess, what would that be? $325? I'm bad with the math.
$375, I think, if you sign up for all 4.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we have anything else on our end, but.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for your time. We'll be following up shortly with an email, and our email address is if you want to do some one-on-one questions. All right. Have a great rest of your week and enjoy your holiday weekend. Take care.
Thank you. Yeah. Happy Friday.
Bye.